In 2004, I got married. I was unemployed and had a few thousands of dollars under my name. The man I married had nothing. We both had a bachelor's degree, and in the end, I thought we would be okay. I was living with my older sister at the time, and he was living with his. The problem is, I was ashamed of our living situation, but he was totally okay with it. I suggested that he gets a job so we could rent a place together. He refused to rent. He wanted to buy a home, but he had no money. He talked to his brother who lives in Florida. The brother came with the idea of them buying a home together and share whatever profits they make. My husband's credit was not good, so they ended up using my name. 1 year later, I decided to go for nursing. I applied for a private loan. Since this would be my second bachelor, I needed a private loan. I was denied. My sister suggested I call Experian and requested a copy of my credit report. When I received the report, I was stunned. There were at least 6 loans under my name, equaling close to $3 million. I told my husband about this because right away I suspected his brother, because all the properties were located in Florida. The brother called me and told me not to worry. He had everything under control, he said. I went to visit my mom, and there I received my first call from a bank. He told me I owed this and this amount of money, and that I was behind on my payments. I explained to him I have no idea what he was talking about. I live in New York. I don't own any properties in Florida. All this meant nothing to him because all he was waiting for was for me to tell him when I would be able to make my first payment. My second phone call came from Chase Bank. This loan was the highest. It was over $400. The lady I spoke to was at least sympathetic, but in the end, she told me the loan was under my name and therefore I was responsible for it. By this time, I was beyond scared. Can I go to prison for this? The lady told me this is identity theft and to report it. I went to Ramapo Police and reported it. The police officer spent at least an hour asking me hundreds of questions. In the end, he told me there was nothing he can do for me since I live in New York and the crime took place in Florida. He told me to call Florida police and give me the number. I called Florida police. The police officer listened to my story and told me the same thing Ramapo police told me. He can't do anything for me because the crime took place in Florida and I live in New York. He told me to call FBI, and again he gave me the number. I called FBI. The person I spoke to told me they only deal with big crimes. If I can prove that my brother-in-law has done this to other people, then they will be able to help me. At this point, I knew I was on my own. A few days later, the officer from Ramapo Police called and gave me a number where I can get a lawyer at a discounted rate. I called the number and they gave me a number to this woman lawyer. I called her and explained the situation to her over the phone. I was a nursing student with very little money, and I'm finding out I needed to hire 2 lawyers to get me out of this mess. I was scared. I didn't want to go to prison, so what choice did I have? A few weeks later, the woman got a job offer and left. I was left with the male attorney. He did what he could. One bank refused to cooperate with us. He didn't want to go to court, and that was that. This ended costing me close to $10,000. From 2004 to now, these 2 banks continue to harass me. They want their money. In 2009, I found a man who promised he could clean my credit for $3,500. I paid him the money, and now, 2019, I am no better now than I was in 2004. Last week, I was summoned to appear in court because Deutsche Bank has filed a lawsuit against me. This means more money, more stress for me. I've hired another lawyer. He wants me to give him $5,000 to start. I've learned a lot from this experience. I've learned that identity theft is a crime that anyone could get away with. I'm not even sure it's regarded as a crime because I have yet to meet anyone who wants to help me besides the lawyers who's gonna get their money. I've sat in a room with lawyers and judges. They understand the situation. Not one volunteered to help me in the end. In 2012, this FBI agent called and wanted to meet with me. I was working at that time. He left his information with my cousin and he forgot to give it to me. He called and left a nice message for me. He said that I better call him or else. I did eventually meet with him. He asked me the same questions that the police officer had asked me 8 years before. After the meeting, I realized I was the suspect all this time. He was comparing my answers to the one I gave 8 years before. I am upset. I am disappointed that something like this can happen in the big US of A. I am the victim. I'm the one who's been dealing with the stress. I'm the one who's been getting the harassing phone calls. I'm the one who's been threatened to be thrown in prison. There is no one reaching out to help me. The lawyers are on my side, but like I said before, they are there as long as I have money to pay them. Identity theft is a crime that goes unpunished in the US, so protect yourself.